Superintendent's report. If you're here for the public participation portion of the meeting and would like to speak at remonstrance, please be sure to fill out a blue card and hand it to Mr. Aho, our treasurer. Thank you. Last night, the Twinsburg Orchestra had their first fall concert. It was so wonderful to see the post from the parents and see the kids all dressed up, ready to go, and just very exciting. And I look forward to seeing more performing arts performances from the students of the district this year. Just exciting time. Speaking of this, Thursday evening tomorrow is the Twinsburg High School Show Choir fall premiere. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing event. These students and the program has always had an incredible reputation, and I'm excited to see what this year brings for these students and for these fine young men and ladies of our district. If you've been following the boys and girls soccer, varsity soccer teams, you know they've had an amazing season as well, and congrats to Coach Carter and to Coach Lally, and I'm sure we'll get filled in on this a little bit more later. I know the students and the teachers have been working extremely hard to have a successful first quarter. And this week marks the end of the first grading period. Thank you to our kids, staff, and families for following the safety precautions so that our Tigers can stay in school, participate in extracurricular activities, and continue on with their sports season. I know, and we can all agree that it hasn't been very easy, but with all of us working together, we can continue to keep these programs going and keep our kids in school and continue to make our district Tiger strong. One last thing, as I'm sure you know, there are 3 open seats for the school board this November 2nd. You may have seen candidates canvassing your neighborhood. You may receive phone calls, and some of you may have even received emails. We have 5 energetic and enthusiastic candidates running for 3 open seats. So whoever you believe would be the best candidate to fill these seats and commit to supporting our schools and our kids, it's important that the residents of the Twinsburg City School District go to the polls on November 2nd and exercise your right to vote and to make your voices heard. Thank you. This concludes my president report, and I turn the meeting over to Mrs. Powers.
Good evening, Mrs. Davis, members of the Board of Education. Good evening to all these wonderful families. It is so great to see everyone here this evening. As Mrs. Davis indicated, last night we had a chance to finally enjoy our Twinsburg High School Orchestra, which performed on this very stage. And I have to tell you, some of the parents that were there last night are here this evening. We were chatting in the lobby. It was just so wonderful to hear the students play in person, and the joy on the faces of our parents was just amazing. So we're just excited to welcome the students back into live performances, and beginning with our orchestra concert last night, and then this Thursday evening, tomorrow evening, we're going to enjoy our show choir's performance, and so under the direction of Mr. Peter Hampton for the very first time. So we're so excited about all of our programs. Our athletics have been done so well this fall, and now it's time to welcome the arts to the stages, and so we're just so excited to be able to hear and see them. And we thank Mr. Kirtley. He is always busy. He was here last night live streaming our orchestra concert. He's here again this evening for the board meeting, and probably will be here Thursday too. So he works around the clock to make sure that those of us who cannot be here can enjoy these events at home. So thank you, Mr. Kirtley, for all of your help. Aboard our 7th annual Fill the Bus campaign is underway. We're asking that everyone help us fill one of our school buses with non-perishable food items, toiletries, and household cleaning supplies, which will benefit the Emergency Assistance Center, our partner in our Pause on Child Hunger program. The Fill the Bus campaign is a donation drive co-sponsored by our school district and our friends across the border at their Leannois schools. Collection bins are available at all of our schools and the Board of Education office. Please help us to fill the bus before Friday, October 22nd, which is this Friday, and we thank everyone in advance for their generosity. As Mrs. Davis indicated, this Friday is the end of the first quarter, and that went by so fast I can hardly believe it. Report cards will be posted the following Friday on October 29th. This week we learned some really exciting news, and that is U.S. News and World Reports released its new U.S. News Best Middle Schools. And R.B. Chamberlain Middle School is ranked number 41 in Ohio out of 1,224 middle schools. And this places RBC in the top 3% of all middle schools in the state of Ohio. RBC is also ranked as the #1 middle school in Summit County. We are so excited for Mr. Reese and his entire RBC family. I wish he was here this evening to hear the congratulations, but we're proud of RBC. And of course, this comes on the heel of last month. They were awarded the PBIS Gold Award. So kudos to everything going on at RBC, and we know it all starts at Wilcox, then to Bissell, then to Dodge, then to RBC, and then of course, everything transfers to the high school. So congratulations to everyone for this wonderful award. Board of Education, in your packets this evening is a print copy of our 2021 quality profile. And we know that they're being taken to the post office tomorrow, so hopefully within the next week, all of our residents will have a copy of our 2021 quality profile. Our quality profile showcases the annual success of our students and our staff and helps to characterize the overall value of our school district. The quality profile is categorized into 6 sections: academics, arts, parent and community involvement, student leadership and activities, student services, and fiscal stewardship. We hope everyone enjoys reading their copy of the quality profile when it arrives in your home. And board, just remember, we made the decision this year to put the quality profile in the mail. We used to put it as an insert in the Twinsburg bulletin, but the delivery has been rather sporadic. And because of the importance of the information in this document, we wanted to make sure all residents received a copy of it, and that's why the decision was made to mail this to all of our residents, much like we do our annual calendar. So hope everybody enjoys that. As we near Election Day, I've been asked as the superintendent, as well as a resident of our school community, which candidates I would vote for the open Board of Education seats. I always answer the same way, and that is, as the superintendent here, I'm not able to endorse any candidate because of my role in the district. However, I do also tell individuals that as a resident, and I live here in town, there are the things that I consider when I personally vote for an individual who desires to serve as a member of our board. And here are some things that I consider. First, has the candidate actively supported our schools prior to deciding to run for the Board of Education? Secondly, has the candidate been involved in committee work, such as a member of our focus group regarding the district's legacy plan, as a member of an action team for the development of the strategic plan, or served on a board subcommittee? Has the candidate been an active member of the board's authorized school support organizations, such as our PTAs or booster groups? And has the candidate served as a member of the Blue Ribbon Schools Committee? Running for a Board of Education seat is an important decision, one, in my opinion, which follows years of partnering with and supporting our school district to the benefit of our students. I wish all 5 of the individuals running for the Board of Education the best of luck on November 2nd. And so now it's time to celebrate some amazing students. I'd like to invite Ms. Lynn Villa to the podium to celebrate Why Wilcox Rocks. Ms. Villa.
Board of Education, parents, Mrs. Powers, thank you so much. I think I told you this because I'm short. I'm so excited to be here to recognize our Wilcox Rock students. So we have some first grade, kindergarten, and preschool students that we are going to call up to the stage. So boys and girls, when you hear your name, I'm going to read a little something that your teacher wrote about you. And we're going to ask you to come up the steps over on that side. And then walk all the way across, and we're going to help you when you come down on the other side on the steps so that nobody gets hurt. And I do have certificates for you, so we'll make sure that you get those as well. So, our first, I have to put my glasses on. Our first Wilcox Rock student is Fateh Singh. Fateh is a first grader in Mrs. Matthew's class. smile on his face, ready to learn each and every day. He is very kind to his peers. He works hard to follow directions and be a role model for others. Fateh will ask for help when he needs it, and he quietly raises his hand to participate in class. Wilcox rocks because of you, Fateh. And next we have Jalen Hicks. He's a first grader in Mrs. King's class. While he's making his way up there, I'll tell you all a little bit about Jalen. Jalen's been nominated for the Wilcox Rocks Award because he demonstrates good citizenship. Jalen can always be found following school and classroom rules. Even when no one is watching him, he makes a good choice. Just as importantly, Jalen has an excellent attitude toward his schoolwork. When it is challenging, he tries his best with a smile under his mask. Thanks for rocking Wilcox, Jalen. Next is Lucas Leannois, first grader in Mrs. Fink's class. Lucas is a fantastic student who truly shines in the classroom. He's kind to everyone, respectful, and always willing to go the extra step to help himself and others. Mrs. Fink is sure the world has great things in store for Lucas. He is a true rock star, and he is what makes Wilcox rock. Jameer McMillan in Mrs. Turshek's kindergarten class. Jameer is making his way up to the front, all the way from the back. Here it comes. Jameer is a kind-hearted boy who is a friend to all. He's always happy to lend a hand when needed. His enthusiasm while learning is contagious in the classroom. Jameer is always willing to try new things and gives his all. Thank you for making the class a better place. You rock, Jameer. Elliot Frazier from Mrs. Troy's class is going to join us next. Wilcox rocks because of Elliot Frazier. Every day, Elliot enters the classroom with a big smile. He always listens to directions and works quietly in his area. Elliot shows compassion for everyone. He asks if others are all right, if anything seems to be wrong, and he shows that he's a good friend. He's a great role model. He always raises his hand to speak, takes turns, and listens to directions. Wilcox is a better place because we have Elliot Frazier. Way to go, Elliot. Our next Wilcox Rock kindergartner, Hannah Capriati, isn't able to be with us tonight, but I want to honor her. She's in Miss Miller's class. Hannah's a caring, helpful student who is always eager to learn and eager to help. She's kind to all of her peers and is very patient. Whenever a student or teacher needs help, Hannah jumps right in to assist. And Wilcox rocks because of Hannah. Molly Jeffers is a kindergartner in Mrs. Iani's room. There she is. Molly is a pleasure to have in class. She comes to school prepared each day and ready to learn. She's very outgoing and friendly and is a friend to all. Molly is especially helpful to her peers that sits at the same table with her. She is patient and encouraging and helps the student when he is having a difficult time. Molly comes into the room each morning with a smile, and she's so excited about being here and can't wait to learn to read. Wilcox rocks because of you too, Molly. And we have two preschoolers with us tonight. Faith Myers is a preschooler in Mrs. Ryder's class. Mrs. Ryder is honored to nominate nominated Faith for the Wilcox Rocks Award. Faith is a friend to all and enjoys being around her peers. She's helpful to everyone and always has a smile on her face. Faith is a hard worker in class and always tries her best. She tackles new challenges with a positive attitude. She's a valuable member of Mrs. Ryder's IPP classroom, and we are so happy to have her in class. And finally tonight, Josie Taylor from Mrs. Turpak's classroom is also going to join us. There she's right at the front. It's a pleasure to have Josie in Mrs. Turpak's preschool class. Josie is a hard worker. She always tries her best when completing projects and assignments. She encourages her classmates and enjoys lending a helping hand. She always has a happy disposition and makes her classroom a fun place to learn. Josie's leadership skills and eagerness to learn will take her far. We are super proud of our October Wilcox Rock students, and so I know moms and dads and family members, you probably want a good photo op. So go ahead and we'll take a step back and let you do that.
You can scoot up if you'd like to get a good picture.
Boys and girls, you're doing such a good job holding those right in front of your tummies. I love it. Last year at the beginning of the year, a student said, I know you're smiling because I can see it in your eyes. So even though it's under your mask, I know you're smiling. You did a great job. We're really proud of you. So good job. And what we're going to do is we're going to have you come this way and down the steps, and Mrs. Powers and I are going to help you, okay? So if I tell you, we're going to go this way, and we're going to follow, okay? Totally love our Wilcox Rocks kids. So just to give you a little bit of an update of what's going on at Wilcox, we have our parent-teacher conferences coming up tomorrow night and Monday. They are virtual, so we are excited to be able to share with parents how their children have been doing in the beginning of the school year. Our Scholastic Book Fair is starting this Friday. It is a combination of online ordering, and also the Twinsburg Public Library has assisted us with some space because we're a little bit tight at Wilcox this year. So they have been amazing partners to us, so parents will be able to do some shopping in person or pick up their online orders over at the library. Our big PTA fundraiser, Booster-thon, is coming out at the end of the month. It will run the end of October into the beginning of November, and this is a fitness and character program. The students will have character lessons every day. They get pledges, and at the very end, one year we did a fun run. This year we're doing a dance-a-thon in the classroom because, you know, Wilcox rocks. And then our fall parties will be coming up at the end of October on the 28th and 29th, and the children will have parties in their classroom. Our PTA room parents are working on parties in a bag, so the items will be dropped off, and room parents in some of the classes will join the class virtually through Google Meet so that they can join the party and leave the party with them. So those are just a few things that are happening at Wilcox right now. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great evening, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Holland and his team for Dodge.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Number one, it's always hard to follow Wilcox watching all the young kids up there. You do such a great job with the young people. And Mrs. Villa takes care of my daughter over there in Wilcox. I'm so proud to see them do such a great job. But I also have some great 4th, 5th, and 6th graders that we're going to recognize today. Continue with our tradition of leadership and role models and being great leaders for our school community. But before we do that, I wanted to take one moment to just introduce Ms. Virginia Green. She is our guest administrator for the next couple of weeks. She's doing a fabulous job with us so far. The kids love her, and as we got here today, the kids are like, will Miss Golden be here? Will Miss Golden be here? So it's a great opportunity for her to be there. Again, Virginia Golden, she's a guest administrator here for a couple of weeks, and she's been doing a great job with our students and our staff. This time I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Walker for our Students of the Month.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce to you tonight some of our 6th grade student leaders who are going to take over and introduce our Students of the Month for you. So each one of them will come up. They've been practicing, and they will introduce themselves, and I know they're going to do a great job.
Good evening. My name is Bella. Character counts at George G. Dodge Intermediate School. The following students were selected by their teachers at Dodge because they have represented and exemplified the qualities of outstanding leadership, citizenship, academic performance and efforts, social skills, and overall accomplishments.
Hello, my name is Colton. The character word for 4th grade students of the month is respect. Respect means that we follow the golden rule, are tolerant of differences, use good manners and not poor language, are considerate of others' feelings of others, do not threaten, hit, or hurt anyone, and deal peacefully with anger, insults, and disagreements. The 4th grade students of the month from Mrs. Snyderman, Mrs. Henry, Mrs. Recker's classes are Sabras, Alexander, Roman, Basil, Ethan Ritter, and Isaiah Rumble.
And then you'll want to come on stage and get a pin from Mr. Felber. If you want to sign in.
Good evening. My name is Joey. The character word for 5th grade students for this quarter is caring. Caring means that one is kind, compassionate, and protective. It means that one expresses gratitude, forgives others, and helps people in need. Caring students are also charitable and selfless. The 5th grade students of the month from Miss Greens, Miss Henderson, Mr. Creville, and Mrs. Kotzman homerooms are Cheryl Rankin, Jordan Blondell, and Jonathan Goldberg.
The character word for 6th grade students for this quarter is citizenship. Being a good citizen means you do your share to make your school and community better. You cooperate, get involved in community affairs, you stay informed, vote, you are a good neighbor, you obey laws and rules. You respect authority, you protect the environment, and you volunteer in school community and in your community at large. The 6th grade students for the month from Mrs. Mach, Mr. Wyrick, and Mrs. Wall's classes are Stephen Ellerby Jr., Dia Shah, and Sajpreet Sahara.
This is another great photo opportunity for our students. I ask our student council representatives to join them on the stage for this photo opportunity. So boys and girls, you guys can come on up. And I just want to say again, this is a great opportunity for photos. But the boys and girls up here that are award winners, as well as the boys and girls that are presenting, becoming a good citizen of God, it takes courage and it takes hard work. And these boys and girls are working extremely hard to make Dodge the kind of place that we're all very much proud of. So would you give this group another round of applause? And again, it takes a lot of courage to stand up here and present. And so to our presenters, you guys did a great job. I'm very, very proud of you. And so again, it's a great opportunity to take a couple of pictures. Boys and girls, you can exit down to your left by our superintendent, and Mrs. Walker will meet you on the other side. And at this time, I'd like to turn our attention to our audience, because I would like for all of our teachers that are here, all the Dodge teachers that are here, could you please stand and be recognized? I really appreciate when our staff comes to support our students, and it takes a lot of work, and it's truly a village, so thank you. And at this time, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Mr. Lynn.
Good evening, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, Superintendent Powers, and distinguished guests. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to represent Twinsburg High School, the wonderful students and staff. I would also like to say great job, student presenters, and I would like to hire you to present for the high school for the next month's board meeting. So I'll read a couple of brief highlights of the last month and a half for Twinsburg High School, and then I'll move on to our fantastic students of the month. We've had an amazing last month of school filled with activities both inside and outside the classroom. Our school spirit is strong, and tonight you'll hear some highlights of the last month and a half, and then we'll move on again to our students of the month. In athletics, our fall sports teams are all wrapping up their seasons, and we thank our students, parents, and coaches for the dedication they have shown throughout the year. Tournament time is here, and our volleyball team is in action at Mayfield this evening. We are up 2-1 going into the fourth set right now, so go Tigers, and I hope they bring home a win. Both our girls and boys soccer team begin their playoff hunt this week and start their end of the season playoff journey to cap off successful, wildly successful regular seasons. Our boys soccer team won their first Suburban League championship outright this year. Our cross-country team continues to impress and will be running at the OHSAA district meet this Saturday. During the Suburban League championship last weekend, Aiden Kane earned first team All-League honors, and Sophie Bassett, Corey Goss, and Aiden Bennett all earned second team All-League honors. Well done, Tigers. In the performing arts and fine arts, last night our THF Orchestra lit up the stage under leadership of Maestro Damon Kahn, and they put on an amazing performance. Our musicians demonstrated precision, accuracy, and dedication as they filled this very auditorium with the wonderful music of very selected pieces and put on such an excellent show. Our THS band, marching band, continues to lift up the entire community with new shows throughout the season that are second to none. We're excited for the end of the season band showcase next Thursday, October 28th. Our choral students, under the direction of Mr. Peter Hampton, are excited to make their debut at the show choir fall premiere tomorrow night, and we cannot wait to see the performance. In academic news, this Friday, October 22nd, will mark the end of the first academic quarter at Twinsburg High School. Our students and teachers have all been working hard to finish the quarter strong. Our counseling and administrative team has worked with families and students over the past month to identify students who unfortunately experienced learning loss last school year due to the ongoing pandemic. We have rostered these students to an intervention specialist who works with these students daily to get them back on track for graduation. Twinsburg High School recently participated in National Assessment Day. THS structured a hybrid day to meet the needs of all of our students. Our teachers were able to leverage technology and place asynchronous learning assignments in the Google Classroom for 9th and 12th grade students who were not on campus. We were able to administer over 750 pre-ACT and pre-PSAT exams in a professional manner to our 10th, 11th, and some selected 9th grade students. The data gained from these tests will provide invaluable data and help develop personalized plans for all of our students as they proceed towards graduation. During National Assessment Day, our 9th grade students completed a freshman success plan related to their personal goals, and we asked our freshmen to choose their E, employed, enlisted, or enrolled, which directly links to our portrait of a Twinsburg graduate. Our 12th grade students, we surveyed on their post-secondary plans for enrolled, enlisted, or employed, and this will help us to have further personalized conversations with our seniors as they head towards the stage at graduation. I would be remiss not to mention the honors of 3 of our National Merit students. As you know, last month's student, Jillian Robbins, was recognized as a National Merit semifinalist, and Sam Geeling, who is here tonight, and Jameson Payne were also recognized as National Merit Commended students. This places Jillian in the 99th percentile of tested students nationwide, and Sam and Jameson in the top 97th percentile of students tested nationwide. And last but not least, we're continuing to foster our community partnerships. Reuters Stokes engineers were on site outside today at THS to help our science classes evaluate their water balloon launchers. Our students had fun analyzing this project-based learning data and enjoyed their partnerships with, again, the folks from Reuters Stokes. In community focus and civic leadership, over the course of the past 2 weeks, as Ms. Superintendent Powers mentioned, THS has been participating in the Fill the Bus event in partnership with Nordonia schools to help end hunger in Summit County. Our front office is overflowing with canned goods and non-perishable food items, so thank you to our parents, students, and staff who have contributed to this worthy cause. In school spirit news, in homecoming, one of the highlights of the fall for me was the ability to have a homecoming parade, a football game, and a dance. The homecoming festivities brought the entire community together, and we were able to march side by side with the band from THS to Tiger Stadium. The community came together and helped support our school community, and we were able to have a dance on the turf at Tiger Stadium. Over 950 students attended outside, and a little bit of rain did not dampen the fun. Our newly formed Positive School Climate and Culture Committee came together recently to collectively brainstorm all the ways that we can honor our students and staff, promote wellness, and ensure that every student that walks through the doors of Twinsburg High School has a positive experience. So as you can see, it has been a fast-paced few months at THS, and I would now like to take this opportunity to recognize our fantastic Students of the Month who have distinguished themselves as Tiger Strong leaders. When I call your name, please come up, walk across the stage, and Superintendent Powers will have a certificate for you. Sam Geeling, for scholarship and excellence in the performing arts. Sam is an all-around wonderful young man. He not only demonstrates extreme leadership in the classroom, recently being recognized as a National Merit Commended Scholar, but is also one of the leaders of the THS band. Sam is a senior drum major in the band and plays tenor sax. He is vice president of the drama club and will be in the upcoming production of Almost Maine. Sam has big plans after high school and has his sights set on Northwestern University and plans to major in public policy. Sam would like to thank his mother Emily for always being there for him and being a positive influence in his life. Congratulations, Sam. Griffin Wilmot, leadership in athletics and community engagement. Griffin is a man of few words, and according to his mother Michelle, he is going to hate being recognized for this. So I'll be brief. Griffin is currently maintaining all A's and plays football and baseball for the Tigers. He's a member of the National Honor Society and Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He will likely be following his sister to Ohio University next fall with a major in business. He'd like to thank his mom Michelle and his dad Jim for being positive role models. Griffin was nominated by teacher and coach Mike Bell. Coach Bell states, Griffin has been serving as the perfect example of Tiger Strong for all of his peers, both in the classroom and on the football field. In addition to being a servant leader and team captain on the football team, Griffin has been devoting time to helping the community youth football program in the evenings after his team practices. He's helped our community's youth coaches run drills and has encouraged community pride in the development of our overall program's family atmosphere from second grade all the way through the senior class. One of our program goals is to develop a team without walls, and Griffin's actions can help create a direct and positive impact in the development of this program goal. Griffin's actions not only have a favorable impact on the youth players, their coaches, families, and our school, they also inspire others to serve. He has often been accompanied by teammates to help in this endeavor. Griffin has illustrated true leadership. He inspires those around him. This is one of the real measures of leadership. Congratulations, Griffin. Brian Howard. I'm not sure if Brian is here tonight. Brian, are you here? Full disclosure, Brian is working another job, so he said he might not be able to be here this evening. Academic excellence and high achievement in a skilled trade. Brian is a state and national champion in the Skills USA Construction Trades competition. Brian maintains straight A's, was selected as a national student scholar, and maintains a job outside of school. Brian loves working with his hands, and he plans to pursue a career in the trades as either a framer or an electrician. He is excited about his upcoming work experience through CVCC. Brian is a dedicated person and gives his best in all he does, and would like to thank his father, Brian, who has inspired him to pursue construction. Congratulations, Brian. Adrian Davey. Adrian, you're here this evening? Okay. Adrian is an 11th grade student at Twinsburg High School and admittedly says he struggled with learning last year as a virtual student. He has really dedicated himself to his studies this year and says school was tough this year and it's getting easier this year because I'm, quote, putting in the work. Adrian plans on pursuing a career in real estate and would like to thank his dad, Adrian, who always pushes him to do his work and do better. Adrian was nominated by his academic coach, Lisa Roberto, who recognizes how hard Adrian is working this year. Ms. Roberto states, Adrian was virtual last year. Since we were back to in-person learning, I've noticed Adrian giving 100% more effort this year to his English class and always shows up on time to coaching and ready to work. I've worked with Adrian since he was in the 9th grade, and I've noticed he is more conscientious and engaged than ever. To Adrian, I would like to say, keep up the good work. We notice it, and it's worth it. Congratulations to Adrian. Deshna Naruka, civic duty, leadership, and scholarship. Deshna is a 10th grade student at Twinsburg High School and demonstrates extreme leadership qualities for an underclassman. She is the co-president of the Minority Student Union, is a member of the district's Curriculum and Technology Committee. She plays violin in the orchestra and academically says, quote, I'm getting those A's, but it's tough with 2 AP courses this year. Deshna is proud of her family and would like to thank her mom and dad for always being there for her, and would like to recognize her older sister Deepthi for always pushing her to do better. Congratulations, Deshna, and I can't wait to see what you accomplish in the next 2 years at THS. Colin Bryant, team player, noble student, and respectful. Come on up, Colin. Colin has been an amazing addition to THS, and it is rare for a 9th grade student to be recognized as a student of the month. Colin puts forth 100% effort into all he does and is a model student. Colin recently presented a passion project about his family, and today told me that he loves his family and his sisters Kendall and Kennedy very much. Colin was nominated for this award by his teacher, Mr. Socrates, who states, Colin is a freshman and has had such a smooth transition to THS. He's a leader and a role model in my class, and always encourages and supports his less capable classmates every day. Furthermore, he exemplifies characteristics we look for in our Tiger students. He is always safely wearing his mask, a team leader who is very respectful to others. He manages his schedule and his belongings. He is organized, motivated to achieve his goals, and beyond courteous and honest. He is noble. This semester in Success class, he presented his passion project in front of his typical counterparts. Colin was very nervous and excited, and worked hard preparing and practicing for his big presentation. It was apparent how receptive the class was when Colin had his turn to present. In the classroom, Colin is making a huge impact on the culture of our school community, especially as it relates to the student body. Additionally, Colin is participating in the PTO Reflections program, as he is currently in an Inclusion Art 1 class. This nominee also takes charge whenever we work in our THS garden. I'm so proud and privileged to nominate Colin for the Tiger Strong Student of the Month. Congratulations, we are proud of you, and I'm excited that you will be at THS for the next 4 years. Congratulations. One more round of applause for our fantastic students of the month. Thank you, guys. Picture, guys. Last picture. Good. All right.
Nice job, guys, and girls. While they're walking back, I'm just going to make a brief mention. As seeing these little ones all the way up through the high school, it might sound cheesy, but there's this Kenny Chesney song called Don't Blame, and they talk about being 6 years old, taking a nap, and then waking up here 25, and your high school sweetheart becomes your wife. And that, for some reason, has been running through my head watching these little kids on up to the high school. But yeah, just appreciate all of the moments, parents. At this time, do we have any committee reports?
Yeah, so the curriculum committee met on Monday. It was a new committee meeting for the first time. So we started off with some introductions, just getting to know one another. And then we reviewed new social emotional learning standards for pre through K. So those will be coming on the agenda next meeting. There were 2 social justice literature class books that were reviewed as well, and you'll see those also on the next agenda. And then we had an update on the academy. So there's going to be a lot more coming, I think, in the next curriculum meeting on the academy, but that won't be until January.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have any other committee reports? Okay. So moving on to the administrative reports, Mrs. Powers.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. Good evening again. This evening, members of our administrative team are here to present to you, formally this time, the strategic plan and our strategies that we would like to focus on for this school year 21-22. Board of Education, as you know, last week we met in your work session and had a chance to really talk through each of these. So this evening, the administrators are going to give an abbreviated presentation to what you participated in last week, but doesn't change the content, but just really the brevity of the presentation. To begin, I just want to thank formally the members of our community who continue to work with us through the strategic planning process. Now for over 2 years, we have met with members of the community, members of the staff, and students in each of these subgroups, or the action teams as we like to call them. Because when you're talking about the strategic plan, you know that you cannot do this work in a vacuum. It cannot be implemented unilaterally. We must listen to the members of our school family and then put into place the plans that get us to the ultimate goal, and that is to be successful in reaching the goals of the strategic plan. So in July, Mr. Aho hosted a finance meeting talking about the goals for this year with regard to the finance piece, and he'll be providing additional information this evening. Then later in August, our facilities action team met. We met virtually And Rob Latchford was present, as well as Tony Pottichil. They're two consultants that have been with us along the way. Rob works for Lesko and Associates, and I believe Tony does as well. Tony is also the executive director of the Alliance for High Quality Education, so he has a good pulse on construction projects and financial obligations statewide. So we appreciate Tony also being a part of that committee. On the 26th of August, then our 21st Century Teaching and Learning Committee under the leadership of Mrs. Farthing met to talk about academic goals for the year. And then that was followed on September 2nd by our Communications Committee. As you know, Mr. Sullen began the work 2 years ago, and he stepped away from the school district, and upon her employment, Mrs. Honeycutt took over that role. And now Mrs. McKinney has joined Mrs. Honeycutt as co-facilitators of the Communication Action Team. So they are here this evening to speak with you about the strategies identified there. And then that was followed up on September 7th by Dr. Walker's work with the Culture and Climate Committee and all of the participants along the way. And then finally on September 8th. Our September 8th meeting was actually led by our Action Team facilitators, and they actually are Mr. Reese, the principal at RBC, and Mrs. Johnson, the principal at Samuel Vista Elementary School. Neither cannot be here due to family obligations this evening, so I'll be picking up the baton for them tonight and talking through their safety strategies. But that committee has been working now for 2 years as well, and they've developed proposals for this year based on the work that has already passed on and also where they would aspire to go in regards to safety in our district. So to begin tonight's presentation, I'd like to ask Mr. Aho to come forward to just speak through the financial strategies for this year as related to the strategic plan.
Thank you. With the finance part, the first part of that is goal number one. This is really an ongoing thing. It's completing financial plan, maintaining fiscal stability through 2023. Well, you know, as you know, it just keeps going, so that number just keeps rolling along. But here we have 2023. We passed the emergency levy, and actually in May of 21. So that's something that we've done, accomplished. You were also monitoring the levy cycles. We have another renewal that will come up to 6.9 mil levy. The first opportunity for renewal is November of 2022. Another piece of this is the conceptual legacy project. Different strategies to finance it. There's several different ways it can be financed. Of course, there's a traditional bond, and then there's a lease purchase option. Other school districts have done lease purchases, which people may be a little less familiar with. Like Mayfield, Parma, Maple Heights, North Royalton, Euclid, Willoughby, East Lake Point, lease purchase methods to do financing of the capital assets. Monitor the expenses related to the ongoing COVID pandemic. Provide updates regarding ESSER funds. There's been several free rounds of ESSER funds. We received basically the first one and then use those dollars. We're spending on the second one and the third ESSER, which was the largest of the three. It's kind of still pending. We haven't really been able to access that yet as well as we'd like to. So going to the second goal, continue to operate in a fiscally responsible manner, utilizing the benchmarks identified on the financial strategic planning flow chart in order to support educational opportunities. You know, and everybody knows it takes dollars to pay for education. We're a service organization. We need people. We need teachers. We need staff to make these buildings work, keep things running, and get the kids to school and feed them. So that takes a flow of funds. So we use that financial strategic planning flow chart as a nice graphic to, on a single page, show the district's opportunities. Excuse me. So the thing we're going to do here is we need to update it. We basically clicked off 2 years on the strategic planning flow chart. So we need to start adding years back to it out in the future. So We'll add a couple more years onto that, and then post those on the website. And goal 3 is enhanced communication to all stakeholders. Now that the website's redesigned is up and rolling, we're going to update the treasurer's webpage and put a lot more information on that, make it as user-friendly as possible, and provide as much information that we can on there, like 5-year forecast and those kind of informational pieces. So, thank you.
Thank you. So for facilities, our 2 goals are centered around the facilities master plan. The facilities master plan was started in 2016, updated every 3 years, so 2016, 2019, and so we're up for another one here in 2022. That facilities assessments really guides our permanent improvement expenditures and all of our expenditures related to facilities. So we work together with Lesko Associates and Karpinski Engineering in getting that done. So our strategies are centered around our first goal is looking at making sure that all of our annual expenditures are aligned to the facilities master plan. So first strategy is by next month, updating our 2019 facilities assessment with the 2022 pricing and present those findings to the Board of Education. Basically, in the last several months, prices have been going up on construction, estimates of about 20 to 30%, some more in some cases, some less. So we're looking to update that presentation accordingly. Then updating throughout through the 3rd quarter, updating our facilities assessment for some of the lessons learned from COVID. Our traffic study just reflecting the last 3 years that we've learned from our facilities and presenting the findings of those recommendations during the 4th quarter. And then finally, after updating our facilities assessment, making sure that we update our 5-year PI plan and present that in June of 2022. The second goal is, again, centered around the facilities master plan, but this time looking at our options for the conceptual legacy project. So as noted in goal number 1, the 2019 facilities assessment is going to be updated for current conditions and pricing, and make those recommendations that will provide a foundation. All of our data that we've collected, we really were setting up for the high school bonds expiring here at the end of this calendar year, and then so we had all of the survey data, all the focus groups conducted prior to COVID becoming a reality, and then we shifted our focus. So we want to update our feedback, get additional feedback from the community, because it's really important that whatever is built for the conceptual legacy project, it meets the needs of the community and what the community wants in Twinsburg City School District. So with that, we want to gather the feedback. We want to try to get more people involved in the focus groups, and so we're hoping that with the assistance of a marketing consultant, Alberton Hill, we'll be able to get more people engaged in our focus groups to make sure that the project is something that the community wants, along with an updated phone survey from Talent Research. Again, trying to update our data to qualitative and quantitative data that's post-COVID, and present those findings by April of 2022. And then again, as in goal 1, we want to make sure that the 5-year PI plan is adjusted to incorporate the 2022 facilities assessment, in addition to all the information gathered on the Conceptual Legacy Project to make sure we're building a good bridge and spending our money as efficiently and as effectively as possible. Next is Ken.
Good evening, Board of Education. The first goal for 21st Century Teaching and Learning is to provide students with a well-rounded, content-demanding, and real-world learning experiences, as well as robust ways for demonstrating knowledge acquisition. Within that first goal this year, we are really going to be focused on making sure that we are providing culturally responsive education, and we will also be focused on equity. You will hear that as a theme throughout our goals this evening. Within the first goal this evening, we are going to be focusing on student voice and choice within our formative and summative assessments for our students. We found that when our students are having some more choice and some more voice, they are more engaged. We will be surveying our students and providing a summary of the findings to you in June after the conclusion of the school year. The second goal is to offer students multiple opportunities to develop knowledge and skills that transfer to college, career, and civic life. We will be focused in this goal with our professional learning communities working on problem-based learning, and you've also heard us refer to that as PBLs. So we have had staff members who have created PBLs, but to enact a PBL in your classroom, it's different. So we would like to provide some coaching support for our staff members with implementation of the PBL, and we'll be working with Northeast Ohio ESC for coaching to actually happen as the teachers are preparing their PBLs. Additionally, with our PBLs this year, we started this a little last year, and then we had a more example of that today with our partnership with Orchestra. We would like to build more community partnerships and have the community partners give us PBLs, and our students would work through them and present them to our partners. And as I said, we had an example of that today. And our third goal is to support the holistic well-being of each child. And we are very excited to work with the National School Boards Association to conduct our equity audit and survey our students, parents, teachers throughout the survey that we will be using very soon. We will be using those results to hopefully create some professional development that we have needs, and we want to make sure that we are providing that professional development in real time for our staff to make sure that they are having culturally responsive classrooms and making sure equity is the focus in all of our classrooms. We will be measuring that through our classroom walkthroughs, observations, and lesson plans.
So pinch hitting for Mrs. Johnson and Mr. Reese this evening, the first goal really takes on what Mrs. Harding just mentioned, and that's the engagement of our students and making sure that we engage them, that we listen to their voice and give them choice. And so one of the tenets of the strategic plan since its inception was to include our students as much as possible in committee work. And each of our buildings, and I do as well, we have principal or superintendent's advisory council meetings. And the express purpose of those meetings is really to gain an understanding of what is important for students, what they have to say about issues, and how they may help us through their brainstorming to resolve some issues that a school might be experiencing. Mrs. Johnson would tell you the story that for her students, they're called the change agent group, wear sunglasses and everything. It's second and third grade, so it's just a lot of fun. They were having some difficulty with how the students were coming in and out of recess. And this was 2 years ago before the pandemic. So the boys and girls on the student advisory committee, the change agents, brainstormed ways that they could be helpful in resolving that problem about the behavior coming and going from school and from recess. And the boys and girls created posters, and they were advocates. They spoke on the morning announcements talking about the work of their committee. And so even our youngest children have something important that they can share. We believe in say something, see something, say something, and we know that through this committee work, things like inappropriate behavior, bullying, certain protocols related to the ongoing pandemic can be thought through with our students. Some brainstorming can come forward, some ideas can be generated, and then the principals will take those ideas forward and implement those ideas as much as they can to make real change happen. So this goal really is talking about school safety in the sense that students can be real partners with the adults that are in the school and make difference through their work on these committees. The second goal, Board of Education, this talks about intervention and diversion programs for substance abuse for our students. Mrs. Davis and Mrs. DeFabio might remember that prior to the pandemic, I believe it was in January of 2020, the student activity subcommittee met, and we spoke with a representative from a company that does this kind of work in schools, and we were just starting along the road of doing our research about whether or not we should be talking about it and then ultimately implementing a substance abuse intervention and diversion program here in the school district, and then the pandemic happened. And so the committee, when they convened with Mrs. Johnson and Mr. Reese, really pushed this forward as one of the strategies that they would like to see get some legs under this year by doing some research, understanding what other school districts do relative to their policies and practices, and talking about intervention and diversion programs dealing with substance abuse, and hopefully making some plans, some headway into ensuring that those ideas are well thought out and then presenting them ultimately to the Board of Education for further consideration. The schools that we heard from probably in the winter of 2019 really had a lot of ideas with regard to intervention and diversion programs talking about substance abuse. Whether or not what other school districts do for us is going to fit for our needs is yet to be determined, but this is going to be the year that we do some research, talking with other school districts and other high schools, because we know that sometimes it's not just the public schools, but we also have partners in the parochial private schools that might have some information that would be valuable to this work. Okay, and then the third goal here talks about the fact that we implemented a later school start times and end times this year. And was put into place for many reasons. You know, last year we had to make some adjustments to the school day calendar, the start times and end times rather, because of the manner in which we transitioned buildings from one to the next, and we had to make it all work. But we learned some great things last year, and we began to think, can this happen this year? And in fact, it has happened this year. And we've adjusted school start times and end times. Practically everybody has some adjustments that we are working through. And so what we are wishing to do in this particular goal is to begin to get some feedback. Now that we have the later start time and end time at some of the schools, maybe it's an earlier start time and end time than a school community was used to. Going back now to our students, our staff members, and our parents, and getting some information about how's this working for you? Is it making a difference for the adolescents? Because, you know, based on research, it was said that adolescents do better if they start their school day later. Doesn't really make a difference for the students here at Twinsburg High School. So we have some research to do, some surveys, and we look forward to presenting those things to you in the latter part of the spring, so that as we move forward, we'll be able to make additional recommendations to the school start and end time for the 22-23 school year. And finally, although you can't see it on the screen, the last goal has to do with the safety audits that we have already undertaken. We have great partnerships with the Twinsburg Police Department, and we just recently did a safety audit of how our arrivals happen, traffic flow patterns. And so this is the year to take a look at studying those items, understanding that when we do an audit, they're considered confidential because we're working with law enforcement. And some of the things that come forward in those kinds of studies are confidential in the sense that it would have an impact in the way that we operate our school district in a safe and orderly fashion. So using the information, most specifically the information from the Ohio Schools Council, who did an audit of our schools, as well as the information that we gleaned from the Twinsburg Police Department, we have done professional development with our staff, and we are going to continue to do that professional development because it's not a one and done when you're talking about school safety. The other piece I just want to remind everyone is, in addition to the facilities school safety that we talk about a lot, there's still this whole practice of making sure that we're operating in a school environment that is safe, considering the fact that we're still in the midst of a pandemic. And so school safety, you saw it with regard to the Principal Advisory Council, where the students are going to talk about some of the protocols and make some suggestions relative to the pandemic. We also know that just how we operate as a school district. So I appreciate the opportunities to come to the board every 6 weeks to talk through how we're operating in this pandemic, what's working for the school district, might we make some modifications. And in fact, just this afternoon, during our weekly call with Commissioner Skoda, it appears that there's going to be some movement with regard to some protocols coming out of the Ohio Department of Health within the next week that the board's going to want to know about, and potentially that may alter some of the things that we have here in place in our school community. So school safety is one of these things that never ends. This goal will really keep safety at the front and center and making sure that we continue along the path of providing the very safest environments for our students and our staff to be in every single day. And so now I'd like to ask Dr. Walker to come forward and explain the goals with regard to culture and climate.
Thank you, Mrs. Powers. I'm going to discuss the goals for culture and climate, and because we have a few technical difficulties, I'm going to read our goals aloud. So the first goal is that the Twinsburg City School District will increase mental health awareness for district and community members. And as such, we are going to look at creating a social emotional learning curriculum that is going to span pre-K through grade 12. That committee has been developed this year. We've had some meetings, but we're continuing to align our work with the social emotional standards through the state of Ohio. Also, we're going to, we recognize that we need to build capacity for our staff members, so offering them professional development regarding mental health awareness so that it can be embraced and properly addressed. And also, we are going to engage our community members with bi-monthly media communications so that there is communication and just other efforts for people to become familiar with mental health. One thing that I would like to discuss or just simply say is that oftentimes our school district has been extremely innovative, and what has happened is prior to the pandemic, we were looking at the impact of students and mental health and how it impacts academics. But one of the things that I think people, whether we took it for granted or not, we really recognize the impact of mental health, whether it's those who are having challenges or those of us who are resilient and have remained resilient. So I wanted to just let everyone know that when we're looking at social emotional learning, it's not looking at it from a deficit standpoint. It's also looking at it from the strengths people possess and how that can keep them on a trajectory for success through life. And our second goal for the Culture and Climate Committee is supporting a culture of equity where all students and staff are represented and respected through holistic and creative approaches. And we have two areas that we're going to work on. Mrs. Farthing mentioned this with her 21st century, but we're going to be looking at an equity audit as well as the OES, which is a survey through the State Department to define our specific needs for our community. And we're going to look at that through the lens of diversity and inclusion. And with those results, we're going to implement professional development that supports a diverse and inclusive school community. And the last thing that the Culture and Climate is going to look through is there's something called a tiered Fidelity inventory, which is a checklist of sorts that looks at our PBIS system which is our positive behavior and intervention supports through all schools. And it will help us align our efforts as a school district and as a community to help students understand behavioral expectations, and teachers and staff, they'll be able to teach those expectations. We are we are asking all of our schools to submit an application so that they can apply for the status of either gold, silver, or bronze. All efforts for that are not easy. The higher that you get, the higher that you apply, the more work it is. So we are currently working on that process now so that in May we can complete submission for all school districts. So I thank you all for your attention, and now at this time, if Mrs. Honeycutt could come forward to support the goals for communication.
Good evening, Board of Education. I am also going to read the goals. So the first goal under communication is to implement our district comprehensive communication plan. In particular, we are looking to enhance our social media presence through multiple platforms, and in partnership with our marketing consultant, Allerton Hill Consulting Agency. This is actually underway at the very moment, and we are excited to share that our presence on multiple social media platforms will be launched on November 1st. The next goal also continues to focus on the implementation of our comprehensive communication plan. And with this is expanding our district staff, to develop and post guidance and information for our families to have, be able to access resources that are relevant to their students. And this is in partnership with our 21st century learners. Specifically, since we have had the implementation of our Google Classroom, this has actually replaced the presence of our individual teachers having web pages on our district website. And with this, we have received excellent feedback from our community members and family members indicating that they would like to be able to have an easier way to be able to access this information for their children and for all of their children, quite honestly. And so with that, we are sharing resources on our district website, such as links and videos on how to be able to not only access the Google Classroom information, but to be able to easily access students' academic information as well. The next communication goal also is going to actually focus on developing our district crisis communications plan. And with this, as we presented last school year, we were successful in not only developing it, but providing that professional development for all of our new staff members. What we recognize is that we have welcomed a few new members to the Tiger family who also need to be trained on this crisis communication plan. So we will continue to provide that professional development training, not only for our newest members of our Tiger family, administrative leaders and guidance counselors and such, but we will also make sure that we continue to review that plan and to update it accordingly. The next goal under communication is for the district to enhance our district's brand. And in particular, this is in partnership with our facilities team and our facilities section within our strategic plan. And so one of the things through a wayfinding analysis that was conducted for the district a few years back, we received feedback through that wayfinding analysis that that it was necessary to make sure that we had signage that was easily recognizable and accessible when individuals are visiting our campuses. And so with that and understanding that we need to prioritize how we roll this out, the focus is to be able to start with our frequently visited locations, such as our welcome centers at our buildings, as well as the Twinsburg High School Commons area, and working to create not only a timeline, but to be able to purchase and get this new signage up in all of these high-frequency areas, and then to develop that timeline to implement it and roll it out, and then after that, work on the other areas of the wayfinding analysis that was conducted a few years ago. And finally, in reference to enhancing our district brand, and something that we continue to do regularly and did so well, and I have to just say I'm so excited to see all of the students that were recognized this evening, but in particular to continue to be able to celebrate not only our students and our staff within the district and the community and their successes through recognizing them through both district publications and our new district website, our presence on multiple social media platforms, as well as I love the fact that we are able to do our in-person recognitions here at the board meetings again. And with that, we are going to turn it back over to you to see if there are any questions or any discussions as it pertains to our presentation this evening. Mrs. Powers.
As we discussed at the work session in much more greater depth, these are the strategies that have been identified by the members of our action teams, both staff, residents, and students. And so we were wondering, board, if there are any questions or thoughts about the direction for this year with regard to our strategic plan.
I don't really have any questions. I know we discussed this thoroughly at our last work session and over the work of the past couple of years. But I just wanted to let the members know and the students, the staff who participate in this, how much we appreciate all their hard work in this and the time and commitment that went into the meetings just over the past few years. And a lot of work, a lot of planning, a lot of brainstorming, and I just want to recognize that, the appreciation for that.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis.
I don't have a question for admins. I thought the report out was very good. I actually have a question for my colleagues. There's two goals in the strategic plan that's attached to the NSBA work, and I'm going to assume everybody sitting up here has been watching what's been unfolding under the national stage right now with the NSBA. The last few weeks, but mostly I'm talking about since last work session. So I'd like to understand my colleagues' perspectives, specifically on the September 29th NSBA letter to President Biden regarding parent participation in school board meetings. And I'll just give you a little of my own perspectives. I completely agree with the NSBA that school board members and school employees should not face death threats or threats of bodily harm. However, I do think that the letter went a bit too far, suggesting and insinuating parents who disagree should be determined as domestic terrorists, or law enforcement tools such as the Patriot Act should be used against them. And so all of us here, I think, received a letter from the concerned parent. So I do think it's a valid concern that we should probably talk about. Just a couple statistics that I've seen unfold in the last week. So 18 state board associations have already formally distanced themselves from the NSBA, including Arkansas, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, who formally has now discontinued their membership, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, and Wyoming. So this is not partisan. It's an issue of democracy and the rights of parents to address school boards regarding their children. Ohio's stance was less direct. They did address a group called the Parents Defending Education Organization with this statement. The OSBA was unaware of the NSBA letter before its distribution. We did not ask for it nor vet it. We certainly do not approve of many aspects. The OSBA believes strongly in parental engagement, the value of our partnerships with local law enforcement, and rejects the labeling of parents as domestic terrorists. A letter was recently sent to all of Ohio school boards, superintendents, and treasurers to clarify our perspective. We've also made our dissatisfaction known to the NSBA governing board and staff, the OSB Board of Trustees, and we'll be discussing our membership with the NSBA at our next meeting with the Board of Trustees in November. So this contract is sunk money. The activity between now and the next report out is simply executing the diversity assessment, making recommendations. So I am planning on voting yes on the strategic plan tonight. However, I am curious about the positions of the board on the implications of our relationship with the NSBA, especially if the OSBA makes a strong statement in November and pulls its membership.
I'll speak to this. I don't know that it's really germane to the strategic plan. However, I've had a lot of extensive work with the National School Boards Association, especially with respect to equity and their work around that. So that being said, and that's specifically what this contract that we have with them is designed to do, is to really look at diversity, equity, and inclusion and the extent to which it exists, and allows us to identify areas where we might improve. That's really the purpose of the contract. I'll make a couple of points. One is that the contract was consummated well before any of this came to be and came to light. Two, I think I've been very, very clear with respect to my position on diversity, equity, and inclusion, the necessity for the district to engage in this work, and we are here. So to the extent that the letter that we received and the specific request in the letter, I'm not in agreement with respect to what the ask was. However, I do understand the concern, and I believe that the Ohio School Boards Association did address it, and with respect to their stance. So I certainly believe that parents do have a right for freedom of speech. I just happen to disagree with respect to not characterizing this as political. I believe that it is. And I don't think that it has any relevance to do with respect to the work that the National School Boards Association is engaged in this district. I happen to have worked very closely with the director that's ultimately overseeing this work, and her background, the integrity that comes with what she does, and also I've experienced firsthand the ability of the National School Boards Association and this particular piece of what they do to know that it's effective, and I know that they've worked with a lot of other districts in our state in this work as well. So those are my feelings. That's my reaction in answer to your question.
I'll make a comment. First of all, I guess I'm always the parliamentarian at times. We're talking about our strategic plan. We're in the midst of an administrative report. This topic, while we did receive a letter, was not on the agenda, and I feel that it wasn't even appropriate to enter into discussion at this time. If a particular board member would wish us to have a discussion, I would appreciate a change in the agenda and an indication that it's going to be brought up. It was not on the agenda. It has nothing to do with an administrative report, and I don't think it's fair to comment at this time what direction we may or may not have. This is our strategic plan, and I would appreciate some heads up if we're going to be discussing the topic. And obviously someone came very prepared to drop a bomb on the mic and then put us on a uncomfortable position to discuss something without the preparation. So I don't appreciate that.
To be fair, I apologize for not finishing my thought, but it is relevant, in my opinion, if there is a direction change that will be necessary in the strategic planning process, which was the intent of the statement.
Okay, I don't see, I find it funny how you use the word "to be fair," because as I agree with Mr. Felber, if this was going to be a topic of discussion, it should have been added to the agenda, and I don't think in the midst of discussing our strategic plan, we should get into, I guess, just a political statement or debate. I'm not saying that these thoughts don't pose merit. I'm not saying that there aren't concerns, but we're trying to get our work done, and this probably should have been added if this was something you want to do. And quite frankly, dropping bombs all the time is not really, in my opinion, professional. I would appreciate, as a board member, to have this put in an agenda if you would like this discussed next time. I don't know if anybody else has any discussions. Andy, do you have anything to add?
Well, I don't think it was anything added. It was just brought up because it just happened to be that a parent emailed us, and it just happens to be in our strategic plan.
Do you believe it should change the direction of our strategic plan?
Well, I'm not saying that it's changing direction. Okay. I'm just saying it was something to be brought up on and to at least discuss it.
I respectfully disagree with the procedure of how it's brought up. If we really, truly, as a board, want to affect change, let's work together, let's cooperate, let's meet ahead of time, let's have discussions, and again, to put us in the position to say, hey, you all got this letter. We get a lot of emails from parents. This is the first time in 8 years I've ever had someone say, hey, I got this email, let's discuss it now. That's not the way we operate. And I think this is a very thinly veiled attempt to, put the board on its heels in a topic that, is not germane to an administrative report. We had a 2.5-hour work session. If something changed between then and now, bring it up, mention it to the superintendent, talk about it with the president, and impact the agenda. Don't just bring it up on the mic with a 2-page report and then say, what do you guys think? It's just not a very polite way to do things.
So if we could continue, I don't know if anybody else has any other comments, but I think the focus right now is the strategic plan.
Yes, and I guess just to add clarity to the National School Boards Association and its inclusion in our work. Before the National School Boards Association is allowed to work in a state, they have to seek permission from the state-affiliated School Board Association. So when we were trying to determine a path for this work regarding equity, which started in June of 2019, actually the work started much before then. But the national conversation around George Floyd and all that happened thereafter really made it even more important that as a school district, we understand where we are in regard to equity and inclusiveness and diversity. And I will tell you honestly, we have a ways to go. And I have talked with parents, and I have talked with kids and staff members, and we do some things really well, and we do some things that are not so good. And so we have work to do to effectively make sure that all students and all families who support our school district feel as if this is their place to be and that they're comfortable here. And so when we started to identify organizations that can help us, because Mr. Curtis had an affiliation through the Ohio School Boards Association through his work on the Equity Committee related to the Ohio School Boards Committee, Ohio School Boards Association, I was put in touch with the National School Boards Association. They were very frank with me, and they said, we are not allowed to do work inside of the state unless the state-affiliated group allows us to be here. And so back in 2019, 2020, we began those conversations, and they sought permission from the executive director of the Ohio School Boards Association to be able to affiliate with our school district in the work related to equity research and also helping us understand how to develop this equity implementation plan. The surveys that you heard about tonight, both in Mrs. Farthing's presentation as well as in Dr. Walker's presentation, has been a work in progress, and I have to tell you, central office administrators and the building principals have worked hard to make sure that the questions that we have developed in partnership with the National School Boards Association fit our school community. because they don't know us personally, we know us personally. And so this went back and forth now for weeks, and we're finally to the point that we're ready to launch the survey. So I guess as superintendent, I just need to make sure that the board is comfortable now with us moving this forward as part of the strategic plan. I too received the same email, so I understand Mrs. Gordon's question tonight. I understand that there is concern about the organization of the National School Boards Association. But I can tell you, board, that we vetted out their work with regard to equity, and we believe that how they're leading our school district through professional development and through the creation of the survey, that we had a very large hand in the questions and even how the questions are asked and how questions can be answered as far as the responses to those questions. On Monday of this week in central office, we had a virtual call with representatives from the National School Board Association talking about the platform that will be used to gather this information and who owns that information, all the things that we worry about with regard to data in our school district. And so we're pretty comfortable with the information that we have. However, having said that, I understand the passion related to lots of things going on in school districts, not only in Twinsburg, but everywhere across the nation. And so, as your superintendent, I just need to make sure that you, as the Board of Education members, are comfortable with where we're going with this direction. We believe it's the right direction to go. We believe, we're confident in the work that we've been doing. We think it's well-rounded, but certainly it's up to you to decide if that's appropriate for us.
And my discomfort's not in the process right now. My discomfort is if Ohio pulls out the association next month. What changes?
And just so I'm, just for clarification, I believe we've always said that what's in this is a living, breathing document and would be updated and adjusted as necessary through the work of the committees, correct?
Right, and that's the beauty of the strategic plan. The printed copy that you have before you today is the best thinking of hundreds of people who have come together over the last 2 to 3 years.
It's not like the end, here it is.
Right. And we put the NSBA as part of this because they have worked along with us in the work that we've been doing behind the scenes. And a lot of it has been behind the scenes because before you can launch an effort, you need to put the grounding in place first. And that's what's been going on behind the scenes here in our community. Lots of school districts were out front with all kinds of things, but my question is, what did you base it on? So we want to make sure that when we begin this work of equity, that we're basing it on where our community is relative to those important topics. Thank you for your time. We appreciate your support of the strategic plan. Administrators here, as well as so many that are not here this evening, have really worked diligently to try to provide strategies for this year that are current, that will get our district to the next level, and we appreciate your consideration this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Powers. Mr. Hale, I don't believe we have anything for remonstrance, correct? All right, thank you. So we will move on to action item H, action items personnel. 1, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts a certificated licensed personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. 2, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the classified personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. And 3, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts a supplemental contract recommendations detailed in attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. Do I have a motion to move, please?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Curtis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Felber. Any discussion on these items? No? Hearing none, Mr. Aho, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Curtis.
Yes.
Mr. Felber.
Yes.
Mrs. DeFabio.
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon.
Yes.
Mrs. Davis.
Yes. Those items pass 5-0. Action item I, new business. 1, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the attached listing of media center items to be deleted from inventory per the attached exhibit. 2, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the donation of a lead press valued at approximately $1,500 from Cleveland Clinic Akron General Rehabilitation and Sports Therapy, 585 White Road Drive, Akron, Ohio 44320, to the Twinsburg High School Training Room per the attached exhibit. 3, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a contract for the 2021-2022 school year with ALC Transportation, 10192 Spinnaker Run, Aurora, Ohio 44202, for the select special education homeless routes pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in the contract as sent to the board under separate cover. 4, resolved, revised classified substitute hourly wages. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the following revised hourly wages for classified substitute employees effective January 1st, 2022, due to the minimum wage increase, and that is detailed below. 5, strategic plan. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education authorizes the strategic plan goals, strategies for the 2021-2022 school year as presented, discussed, and confirmed in agenda item F. 6, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education, in accordance with the Board Policy 9211, acknowledges that following district support organizations: Twinsburg City School District Council Parent Teacher Association, PTA, THS, RBC, Parent Teacher School District Council Parent Teacher Association, George C. Dodge Intermediate School Parent Teacher Association, Samuel Bissell Elementary School Parent Teacher Association, Wilcox Primary School Parent Teacher Association, Twinsburg Athletic Boosters, Twinsburg Orchestra Boosters, and the Twinsburg Schools Foundation. 7, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the following administrator as Credential Evaluators for the purpose of the Ohio Teacher Evaluation System, OTES 2, for the 2021-2022 school year as listed. 8, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the following administrators as credentialed evaluators for the purpose of the Ohio School Counselor Evaluation System for the 2021-2020 school year as listed below. Do I have a motion to move, please?
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Gordon. Do I have a second? Mr. Feller?
Sure.
Okay. Any discussion on these items above?
So I can thank Cleveland Clinic Akron General Rehabilitation Sports and Therapy for the donation, $1,500 donation for the Twinsburg High School training room.
Yes, thank you. Very, very good. All right. Mr. Aho, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. DeFabio?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes. Those items pass 5-0. And moving on to miscellaneous. Does anybody have anything to add to miscellaneous besides any of the things we discussed tonight with great things going on in sports and schools? Anybody have anything to add? Yeah? All right. There is a need for executive session, or what time it is, that the board enters into executive session at 8:40 to discuss employment, discipline, and compensation of public employees as per the Board of Education policy number 0166A, and to discuss a complaint against a public employee as per Board of Education policy 0166B. Do you have a motion to move, please?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Curtis. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Felber. Mr. Aho, would you take the roll, call the roll, please?
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. DeFabio?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes. That passes 5-0. We expect no action after this. So motion to adjourn, please?
I don't do it yet.
We'll do that later.